Welcome. We're here located inside of the library archival department of the United Nuwaubian Nation Embassy. We are addressing the world, our nation, in our first national address. Assalamu alaikum, shalom alek, bonjour, hola, akwaba, salam, jambo, and rahubat, yasarmi, in our native tongue of Nuwaubian to all Nuwaubians worldwide. This national address is done by a nation of our own. What you see here is the embassy of the United Nuwaubian Nation under our president, Dr. Malachi Z.K. York, His Excellency, Chief Black Thunderbird Eagle. We would like to welcome you to a portion of the government appointed and established by we the people, for the people, by the people. Our President, Dr. Malachi Z.K. York, was appointed and elected as a constitutionally seated president in 1992, June 26, by 30,000 Nuwaubian nationals on our indigenous territory known as Muscogee Creek Nation territory in the southeastern area. Our President, Chief Black Thunderbird, sits as the only pure-blood Yamasee native indigenous aboriginal head of state existing today. He's the last and only. So it's important that in this national address we address our people worldwide to bring everyone up to date in the position of our government, the position of our nation, and the direction that we are going in regards to his freedom, one, regards to the independence of our nation, and the sovereign status that we uphold, and we are protecting the cultural relationship, our cultural practices, our indigenous mounds, our indigenous territories, and the concerns of our people worldwide will be addressed in 9 points in this national address. To familiarize those with the embassy and the authority in which we have to conduct ourselves, seated under our president directly, our embassy has been given an accreditation letter and has established itself in growth and international relationships since 2007. Those that are not familiar with what an embassy is and what we do, we'll give you a brief overstanding of it so you'll understand that the authority that's been given to us to carry out these details and carry out our operations is given solely by our sovereign in the form of an accreditation letter, which we're going to start off. But before we get to that, we will address also our Declaration of Independence and other documents, our Constitution, which we'll go into, as well as other archive documents that we protect here under international law to keep our president's viable information, pertinent governmental documents that has been seated with us since then. This is the first time this information is being exposed and given to the public, given to our nationals, but it's important you know this so we can move forward on one accord. Dr. Malachi York was voted into his seat on June 26, 1992 and remains as our sovereign head of state. And what that means is that to this day, as colonized people, to this day, June this year has been the 24th year of our existence. And the re-election process is necessary to show the world that indeed we are voting and we are re-electing our president in his seat based on our internal constitutional process. And that will be also addressed, the voting process for our people and how you can be involved in becoming Nuwaubian National. Let's look at first the executive branch. The executive branch of our nation consists of our president and his executive house, which is located at 155 Mansfield Street in Athens, Georgia. That's our presidential house, and it still exists as his today, regardless of whether it was stolen by a foreign government illegally. Our Declaration of Independence positions this house as the executive branch, and the various staff that exist within the executive branch of Dr. Malachi Z.K. York's offices and his various departments, which helps govern our nation's nationals worldwide. And with that being said, our constitutional law allows the voting in and the appointment of ambassadors to various countries or foreign nations to carry out the interests of their people. Myself has been appointed as ambassador to the United States, and I'll read the accreditation letter so our people will understand that our authority is based on the signature of our sovereign. This is the original document, original presidential seal, which is protected in our embassy. The seal of Dr. Malachi York, President of the United Nuwaubian Nation. Head of State Yamasi with his black eagle on the top of a pyramid, which is a presidential seal. Our accreditation letter reads, Your Excellency, this is a written draft to President Barack Obama of the United States, as well as the President of Ghana, which we were appointed to carry out the interests of our nation in Ghana. It says, Your Excellency, I have appointed Dr. Doosua York, a distinguished citizen of the United Nuwaubian Nation, to represent me before your government as Ambassador Extraordinaire and Plenipotentiary of the United Nuwaubian Nation, the state of Nuwapia, independent since 1992, June 26. Ambassador York is well aware of the mutual interests of our two nations and share my sincere desire to establish a long relationship of strong diplomatic ties and preserve our existing relationship in order to move ahead together in writing a new, brighter chapter in our joint history. A joint history with my faith in his high character and ability gives me confidence that he will carry out his duties in a manner fully acceptable to you. Accordingly, I entrust him to your confidence. I ask that you receive him favorably and give full credence to what he shall say on the part of the United Nuwaubian Nation, as well as to the assurances which he bears of my best wishes for the prosperity of the United States of America. Yours very truly, His Excellency Dr. Malachi Z.K. York, trademark, symbol, and signature of the President of our nation in chief. This was October 2007, June 26, our Independence Day. And so this letter here gives us, again, the authority to carry out governmental functions on an international level. And our embassies, as you know, has certain operations that are responsible for diplomatic ties, relationships and communications with foreign governments, which is a characteristic of a nation. You have to have the ability to be able to carry out relationships and businesses with other governments in order to be officially recognized, which nations around the world has already done in our diplomatic international travels. And as you can see, we have a portion of our staff here who's been staffed accordingly inside an embassy and its operations. We have here to my right is Aminubi Rahamos Okran York, Minister Counselor of the Embassy of the United Nuwaubian Nation. We have our brother Kurhat Atun Sakam, who is head of diplomatic security and other positions of the embassy. We also have our Minister of Economics and Deputy Minister of Economics, who is Dintut Raye, and Deputy Minister Sakar Aha Ahershu. And we will all give you a brief briefing of their departments and the responsibilities to the nation that we have as servants of our nation. That's what we are. We are government officials who have been appointed to carry out directives of our sovereign in the interests of our nation around the world. And that is our position, and we have been by natural nature grown into this position as a nation of our own master secrets. As your book that just came out recently to our nation and the world, to inform us of exactly what our very own nation is and the layout of our nation, and so all of our people can be familiar with who we are, so you can free yourself properly from the system and the beast in which he set up his governments over us to rule over us with foreign gods and deities that we must get back and practice our own culture and speak our own language. So when choosing an ambassador, and an ambassador must be, and just coming out our Constitution really quick so you'll understand how we were chosen to carry out our job. According to the Constitution, when you choose an ambassador, no person shall be an ambassador who is under 18 years of age. An ambassador has to be a citizen of the United Nuwaubian Nation for at least 1 year and speak the language of the people he or she is to govern. We also would like to address Nuwaubian nationals, Africans in America, and who our nationals are, who we are addressing in this national address. This national address is geared towards Nuwaubian nationals worldwide, wherever you are, as well as Africans in America, because we are a mixed tribe. We are a mixed people. And so that has to be understood, that Nuwaubians are a conglomeration of mixture of various tribes in the southeastern area, which is where our capital city is located, Wahani Kadesh, what they now call a state of King George, because of his settling colonialists come here to subjugate us to their rule. Initially and indigenously, we were known as the Muscogee Creek Nation, with tribes that were ruled by the Yamasee as the governing body. You have various tribes, the Alabamians, Mississippians, and we will have certain classes that will go into the descendancy and the tribal migrations and the forced removal, which brought us back down here. It was the purpose of us coming back down to Georgia at the time to set up our own sovereign state. And so this national address also we are addressing in this national address the 6th region of the African Union. The African Union is, of course, 54 nations of Africa who have come together to create a constitution to live up for and by each other under one rubric, which is the African Union. And there's 5 regions on the continent itself. The African Union broke up Africa into 5 specific regions. And they also included the 6th region, which are Africans who are off or outside of the continent. And those are Nuwaubians, who are all over the world in different areas, London, the islands, US, South America. So this national address is to inform you all that you do have your very own nation. And the Nuwaubian nation is the qualifying, organizing, by natural nature, under our president, the only nation outside of Africa that has placed Africans in the diaspora to be able to organize and contribute to the continent, which will also address Dr. Malachi York as an icon in the international community, has been one who's only been able to organize the 6th region. That means that he's been able to touch a group of people who have had no identity and have been subjected to foreign rule in different places on the planet, off the continent. He's been able to organize them, and that is us, the Nuwaubian Nation. And so we're talking to you as well, and to bring you up under one rubric and to moving you to join the Nuwaubian Nation as a national, because you are related to us by blood, you are related to us by tribe, even though you may have names and given yourself names of places, follow, such as, give you an example, Haiti is the description of the land. Trinidad is a description of the land, not the description of the people. Trinidad means 3, comes from the word, because it was a description of the island because it had 3 mountains. So they named it Trini or Trinidad. That's not a description of the people. That's a description of where our people were forced to move when they were enslaved from the Muscogee Nuwaubian Nation and sent to the islands. And so that's why, again, there's strong ties to Jamaica and Trinidad and various places. Nuwaubians have a strong concentrated involvement with our bookstores and theirs and our doctrines, because those nationals are not Trinidadians, because you can't be 3 mountains. You have to know exactly who you are by genetics and by blood. And psychologically, our Nuwaubians are connected worldwide. So those are our people as well. Our people are also in Barbados. Barbados was named after an explorer. It also has ties to the bearded, called it beard, because they looked at the landscape and they saw the land, the greenery looked like beard, so they named it Barbados, right? But it's not a name of the people. It's not a name, a nationality of the people. Again, it's a description of the place. Puerto Rico is a description of the place. Nuwaubians are in or on the land which they call Rich Puerto Rico, but it's not a description of who you are. You are a Nuwaubian by genetics, and we will discuss that in future. So this address, this national address, is to get into the minds of the people that it's time to come up under yourselves and practice your culture as one nation. Also, we want to address in point 4, which we're addressing now. Basically, we're just going through point by point here. Dr. Malachi York's foundation, our president's foundations, where he has established himself in the West African countries as a major icon of and supporter of the underprivileged who are in orphanage, who've been left basically abandoned and are not able to take care of themselves. So they're in orphanages and different schools that the master teacher, Dr. Malachi York, has adopted to send gifts and food, clothing, and books that they have built, book libraries where we send books, that has established themselves there with the library in his name to help those underprivileged kids and children in West Africa. We're the only group of people or nation who's done that. No other organization in North America has ties to Africa like we do. And so we also addressing other nationals who have adopted various religious backgrounds. It doesn't exclude you from being a part of the Nuwaubian Nation. Many nations worldwide have various religions that are practiced within their territory because you have a freedom of religion. Most civilized nations allow the freedom of religion of the people to be practiced as such. Our religion as Nuwaubians is animism, which we'll go into in our cultural discussions in the background in which animism stemmed, and the other religions coming out of animism. The major religions of the world come out of animism, being the oldest religion in the world, and we are animists by natural nature. And so moving on to point 4 with Dr. Malachi Z.K. York's foundation, established also in 2007. The Dr. Malachi York Foundation was established because of the importance of continuing the work of our president, being of the great humanitarian spirit that he possesses, and giving back to our people, which it makes him an exemplary, an example of a man of great stature and honor and character, because he's constantly giving back to his people, even in the situation that he's in, being incarcerated, being kidnapped by a foreign government and tortured. And he's found in that strength to continuously assist underprivileged African children, which was the reason we established the Dr. Malachi Z. York Foundation. Which, if you look at his great works, you'll see that he's assisted in underprivileged children in Ghana by shipping. Every year he's contributed to, even from his cell, sent clothing, food, and toys to these schools, orphanages, School of the Deaf. There's a School of the Deaf in Muscogee in Takoradi, his city of birth in Ghana, West Africa, as well as an orphanage in Kumasi that he adopted and made sure that every Christmas, Children's Day, we were able to help those who have not been able to help themselves and provide toys for their children and put smiles on West African children's faces. And this is something that the Embassy of the United Nuwaubian Nation spearheads every year. And this year we'll be adopting another school in Liberia, Monrovia, to continue the humanitarian efforts of Dr. Malachi Z.K. York. And so the embassy is sponsored by this foundation, and to continue the great works and moving forward, contributing to the economic and social development of West Africa. And so our embassy is centered, one of the works that we do here is provide a vehicle that the 6 region Africans in the diaspora can touch back home with our people there. And this foundation facilitates donations and clothing, food, toys, books, pencils, school supplies, desks, even medical equipment that we send over there to West Africa to assist those underprivileged and understaffed and medically needed and assist in the medical needs of the various people and tribes in remote areas. So these are just some of the works that comes out of the embassy, your embassy, amongst other jobs in protecting our nationals and communicating with other governments of exactly who we are. And all of this is mandated within our departments here. You're going to hear further descriptions of our jobs from the various departments as we move forward. One important thing here we would like to address is the voting process. Okay, and this is fairly new to people because being scattered in different governments and different environments, we've been made to think that the voting process is something exclusive for nations who are ruled by Europeans, and this is not the case. Our nation, United Nuwaubian Nation, Yamasee, Native American, Wichita tribes, have a democratic process that our constitutional internal affairs dictate, and in that we have the ability to re-elect our president, re-elect our government officials, re-elect people who are in position of responsibility to be able to assist in giving services to citizens of Nuwaubian. And so the voting process is, right now, we're looking to vote within the next 30 days for a re-election of our president to officially announce to all world governments again in 2017 that our president is head of state and still remains as a constitutionally seated president, regardless of this so-called case, this fake incarceration that's really a kidnapping, because he is protected as a foreign official. And these are covenants and contracts in international law that the United States and other civilized nations have agreed to, not to violate foreign officials rights. And as a foreign official, head of state, and his family, as well as his executive branch, was violated, of course, in his kidnapping in May 8th, 2000 and can't read that 2002. Right, and no, yes, the effects of genocide was perpetrated against our nation in that arrest because it forced us off of our territory. So the voting process is a right. Let me explain this too, because we don't want to. We want to make sure that it's clear that this right is exercised as an additional right of our nation to internal exercise of the will of the people. Every nation has an exercise where the people can express their will in the form of a vote. This is why voting is important. This is why the voting in whatever democratic system has been established, the will of the people speaks. When the will of the people speaks, its transition of power is done without any interruption, without any outside interference. And we as the United Nuwaubian Nation expect to be respected by the international community in the same manner as we move forward with our constitutional process of voting. And many have seen maybe a class where we addressed this from the embassy a few weeks ago, that the voting process, vote.drmalakaiyork.com, is a website that will be launched very soon. Actually, within the next few days, you'll see a coming soon page, and where you'll be able to find information on the voting process, the rights of a vote, how can you vote, frequently asked questions. Where if some people want to know, well, you know, I would like to vote for Dr. Malachi York, but I am a so-called citizen of the U.S. Well, you're a citizen maybe of the U.S., but genetically and psychologically, by blood and by your original state, by natural nature, you are related to the Muscogee Nuwaubian Nation. Most of the dark-skinned tribes, the dark-skinned people in this country came from the southeastern area, migrated north and in different areas, and so and also overseas to various islands and different places located in the world. And so you have a right to re-elect your president, and that's something that the embassy today is making it officially known in our national address, that the voting process is moving forward, and we're looking for people who would like to register to vote on a specific day. We haven't decided a date yet, but we're looking to January 19th to get an official count, a tally of the votes, worldwide vote, Nuwaubian Nation worldwide vote, to stand up for your president and say this is who we elect re-elect as our sovereign head of state, and to remain in his seat without any outside interference. And so it does not affect any internal legal avenues that our president has put in motion in his internal legal affairs, because he does have attorneys that work in the domestic side of things. We are strictly international external operations of our nation, and this is our job. And so we have to continue to move forward and carry out the will and exercise all rights to protect us, our nation, our people, our children, our elders, and our nationals. And so we have international laws, that General Assembly resolutions regarding the constitutional process, and so that's where we are. So look forward for this vote. It's important. It's going to be set up to where you may vote online, and you also will be able to go to the various cities that have campaign managers, mostly bookstores or campaign headquarters, where you can come and get information in the next few weeks regarding this vote. It's very important that all people involve themselves in this vote, so you can be accounted under the United Nuwaubian Nation, and protected under international law without being forced to accept elected officials of various governments that have no interest in protecting you or your culture, your language, or your existence. And so that's where we are with the vote, and you have information on this site where you can read it, digest it, research the laws, understand what a vote is. I mean, a lot of people do not understand where the vote came from, how it was processed, but it is the will of the people. Anytime you hear "we the people," that's the people speaking and propping up their government in a voting process. It's an election of officials who are competent to govern, and our people are competent to govern ourselves. It's a legal term called autonomy that indigenous people has retained. That's why when you see on our seal, you see a government of retained sovereigns. And that retainment comes from the early 1800s, when we were forced to be subjugated to the BIA, to the racist, discriminative government that carried out its abuses in the form of a constitution that they propped up in the 13 colonies, which has nothing to do with us. And so that has to be overstood, that we also have the power to ordain and prop up our government and our constitution, which we have. It's been in existence since 1992. Also, in regards to our land, a lot of us Nuwaubian nationals worldwide, even some people who are interested in trying back into their nation, have wants to know about their land. How do we have a nation with no land? Well, we do have a land, and many lands have been taken in forms of treaty fraud and conspiracies and collusions and genocide and misrepresentation of state representatives in these treaty acts that single-handedly misrepresentators of our nation signed to remove millions of acres of land from us as original title holders. Right. And they know these things, and they know this on record, and they keep them in their archives. So we want you to know that our land's still there, regardless if your car is stolen, regardless if another person is driving it, it's still your car. Doesn't matter if you're walking, you still own that car. So even though you may see Nuwaubians worldwide and it may look confusing because you say we're all over the place, yes, because we were forcibly removed, but that's still our land, though we are walking. So, and we have congregated ourselves when our president, our chief, brought us back there, which was the purpose of establishing a nation, which is a requirement for nationhood. A lot of our great leaders before, a lot of our rebuild. Yeah, a lot of our great leaders before missed the criteria of what it is to be an official nation, and so they may have had pieces of the puzzle, but they didn't have the complete picture. They may have had land, but not a language. They may have had a language and a nation, but not a government. And so we are the completion. Dr. Malachi Z.K. York is the completion of the prophecies of our great leaders who was looking for this indigenous nation, but was conspired upon, was shot and killed, were imprisoned, defamed, slandered. Like our master teacher, our sovereign grand commander is today. He's the same thing that they did to those greats then who were pushing for this independent nation to remove ourselves. Our president did it and made it into completion because we fit the criteria of what a nation really is. And one of them was the land, and you will see that on the site. Also, we'll have information that covers the history of our nation, our story, and where our land is, where it exists. Not only just 500 acres, but we had millions and millions of acres that was stolen in various treaties, like the Treaty of Fort Jackson, the Treaty of Indian Springs, and the Treaty of Fort Wilkinson, Fort Washington, New York, and which is another class. All right, so we are fighting and rebuilding for which we're doing now in a nation of our own, rebuilding what was ours and taking back what's ours. And so we have the power to do it. If you're in, then let's nation build, and that's what the purpose of us and the embassy here is, to protect all of those interests under one banner, under the signature and seal of our president, Dr. Malachi Z.K. York. All right, so we want to address, moving on to point 7, and internationally respected. We want to move on to point 7, which is, okay, our president, Dr. York, has attorneys that he often, involves in his legal fight. And you have lead attorneys, domestic attorneys that have been working diligently on a clemency, as well as a petition that was started on whitehouse.org, petition to grant clemency or pardon our president in the domestic arena, and it's respected, and our rights in exercising the will to vote and the international position that we are in and protected under certain conventions does not interfere with internal domestic activities of freedom that's taking place, so there is no conflict. So we want to make that clear just in case the question comes up. Does any of our work conflict with other ongoing freedom fights that's taking place? And absolutely not. In fact, we work together to make sure that each of our jobs is done and each of our jobs are respected in regards to our president's will and what he has mandated each and every official in his government to hand out and do. And so that's where we are with that. So we would like to make that clear. And we also will be in the future taking questions, but we want to make sure we cover in this national address the concerns of where we are now, so it'll be clear to everyone what your embassy, what your ambassador, what your ministers, what your economic department is doing in regards to maintaining the independence and reaching full sovereign statehood and status. We have campaign 8 is dealing with the campaign. We in order to have a vote, of course, we have to have a campaign in order to get the word out, so people have an understanding that they can vote for their very own president. A lot of people are just like, oh, you know, I love Barack Obama, or I love my president of, you know, whatever nation you belong to. But, you know, if you are a scattered Nuwaubian, your job, your loyalty, your to your nation, your allegiance of oath, your allegiance to your nation, your oath to your nation should first and foremost protect the existence of your nation. And it's called the supremacy principle, and it's a law that says protection of your body, or self-preservation, is the first rule of all law. And in self-preservation, as a body, a nation of people, you have to preserve your culture. You have to preserve your language. You have to preserve everything that you've been given by natural nature. And so in the campaign, we're informing those who don't know that they have a right to vote for their president. It will be done through campaigning regions that we're organizing now, so the various Nuwaubians who are in different pockets of this society would be able to go to a specific headquarters and say, I would like to register, I would like to vote, how do I go about it? And so that information will also be put out on the VoteDrMalachiYork.com website. And it will be up soon. You can keep checking to see if it has launched, but look within the next 48 hours it launching, and we will of course put it on social media and get it out there as best as we can, so you'll know that the site is up. You can go input your information so you can receive frequent articles and newsletters, and you'll also get information of our blogs and where the campaign headquarters are. How do you register? You'll also be able to download the ledger from the site, which you can mail into your embassy to be accounted amongst the Nuwaubian nation, and then be registered to vote, so you can cast your ballot and re-elect our president on a specific day. We don't want to forget that we do have sisters of Sacred Feminine of our embassy who are working diligently to assist and make sure that the word is out, and the support of the feminine, our sisters and children and elders will be able to get information for the women of our nation. Our secretaries are involved closely with the voting process and the campaigning process, and also the First Lady of our nation, who sits in the Executive House as the First Lady of our President, Dr. Malachi Z.K. York, Partner Babtet, Habitat, Yanun, and so you'll have that endorsement as well, because the campaign is ultimately to make sure we glue our government tight so we can move into this next year, this next time frame where we're preparing to go back to Africa, and our people are protected under international law. And so all of this is coming together in a very beautiful picture that our master envisioned over the years in 1992 in establishing an independence of our nation. His government is here, and we are operating in full capacity. Us as his diplomatic agents who carry out necessary diplomatic missions with the U.S. I mean, not with the U.S., but to the U.S. to protect our president, protect the rights of our people and to make sure that no violations or more injuries occur against our body. And that, you know, point 8, also the 6th region, I wanted that the campaign regions include the 6th region, which I want to address real brief to know what the 6th region of the AU is. We touched on it earlier, but the embassy, United Nuwaubian Nation Embassy, sits in a seat of the 6th region as myself being appointed chair of Diaspora African Forum US. And what that means is this. That means that as sitting as chair of Diaspora African Forum US, we are the ones that are responsible by natural nature to organize the 6th region, and the AU has been looking for our nation to bridge the gap, which the master teacher Dr. Malachi York has always pioneered. He's always pioneered that us shaking hands with Africa, bringing our resources and intellect, and which you have our economic contributions, our social contributions, our cultural contributions back to Africa. And so this 6th region is the region outside of the continent, but we as the United Nuwaubian Nation, we sit in that seat to spearhead the 6th region and organize it in such a way that the African Union accepts us as the people who are able to organize Nuwaubian nationals and Africans in the diaspora worldwide. And that is, so we just wanted to press that there are sisters, our secretaries, who will be answering the phone once you get the contact information and you call and you'll see the campaign moving forward. You'll see our Vote Dr. Malachi York hats, Vote Dr. Malachi York posters. We'll be putting thousands of dollars into the campaign online, as well as different areas, our committees who will be organized, volunteers who are willing to campaign and get people to register to vote for and re-elect your president. And also on this site, moving on to point 9, which is again touching back on our site that will be going up, Vote Dr. Malachi York, tied into the UNNembassy.com site, where you'll have full access. Now this is the first time you'll be able to have full access to our laws. You'll have access to our treaties that we went in with the United States, and so we are thus parties of those treaties. So therefore the rights to those treaties, we still exist as a sovereign state, as a sovereign nation, because the rights to those treaties still exist with our president as the indigenous chief of those nations that the U.S. seek and sought treaty negotiations with to acquire certain lands which they created into these additional states in the southeastern area, stolen lands and things of that nature. So they know that us as the Nuwaubian Muscogee Creek Seminole Wichita Nation are the inheritors of those rights, and we have a right to our territory and the claims of our territory, and we are moving forward strong. And it takes the people to come together and acknowledge and stand up as one, and that's this one time again we can stand up in this vote. So I'm pushing y'all to not complain, but to vote, to not talk about the problems of the black community or Africans in America or the Hebrew Israelites or whatever a nation of Islam, and the differences that our communities have been broken up into. Know that you all have a voice to vote, so you can fall up under one banner and acknowledge yourself as one body. And therefore to bring forth the prophecy of this black eagle who was to come in these last days, as they say. 2, 1, a story of an ancient prophecy where it's a story that the white eagle had trapped or entrapped the red eagle in the waters, trapped it into its waters. It's a symbolic story that the ancients spoke about, and they compared the red eagle to the native red Indian, Native American, and the white eagle was the European who came and trapped the red eagle into its waters, which is the jurisdiction of the U.S., and the black eagle, who is Chief Black Thunderbird Eagle, who they mistakenly named and gave that name from the Crow Nation to Barack Obama. not realizing that this Native American chief, Black Eagle, was the one to free Red Eagle from the jurisdiction of the White Eagle, or the waters of the White Eagle, and chase the White Eagle back to the caves. This is the prophecy that the European will have to go back home into, because they had decolonized. Now they colonized this nation, and we're seeking to decolonize. As colonial peoples colonized settlers coming here, settling on our territory, the same way they went to Africa, settling on their territory. African nations became independent by what? By voting. That was the process. Everybody say we sovereign, we're free, but there's a process in freedom. It's not just something that you march to get. It's not something that you protest to get. You can vote and vote your president in, like the Ghanaians did. And then Barack explained when the president of the United States, explained when he went to Ghana, that the democratic process of Ghana has been established and successful since 1960, when they first voted their president in, Kwame Nkrumah. All Ghanaians stood up and said, you know what? Your government is abusing us. You're a foreign government. We have our own government, and we want to rule ourselves from henceforth. And it was respected in the international community. In fact, Kwame Nkrumah was incarcerated at the time that his nationals, his people voted for him, and he walked out of prison. So there is a reason why at this point we are voting, and it's important that we don't ask anyone. We stand up on the will of the people and say, this is who we are, and this is our president, and we're coming to get him. That's how this is going. And so if you don't take that stand now, then you know it's your choice. But the Nuwaubian Nation is definitely on the move. And so on that site, you'll have our story, the National Archives, you'll have maps, you'll be able to register, you have the frequently asked questions, you have our nation's information, the migration of the tribes, our language, our national identity, and various scripts and dialects that our nation speaks, because we went through phases of Nuwaubian, from Nubic, Inglebic to Nubic to Nuwaubic to Nuwaubic to Nuwaubian. So a Muscogee script, you have the Yamasik script, you have the various scripts that our nation speaks because of the different tribes and the different dialects. So all of that will be on this site. So it's important that you go there and check out the site, which will be launched in a few days. And so I want to just move forward with addressing other areas of the embassy, and give a brief description of the various departments with our economic department, and how the economic aspect of the fight ties into the pressure of economic sanctions that our nation, our embassy carried out in order to move this government who's injuring us by holding our head of state, to move them to release him immediately back into the hands of his government. And so these departments that you see, as well as the minister counselors, a representative of our nation, traveling the different parts of the globe to make sure that you, in a campaign movement, the brother Prince York, who's doing an excellent job in representing his father, representing Dr. Malachi Z.K. York on the world stage, and campaigning to make sure you know that it's about nation building. And if you don't see us present, you don't see that you have the solution. So he's going to address his job and description, and what he's mandated to do and carrying out for the government and the embassy, and his job in that area. And then you have diplomatic security, who secures the legal documents of our president, make sure that we under international law, the inviolability of the mission premises under Article 22. Deputy Minister Sakar Ahershu.
Okay. Thank you, Ambassador Doosua York, Dr. Doosua York. Appreciate it, brother. I appreciate the family, Rahubat, for tuning in to our national address. And I am the Deputy Minister of the Economic Mission for the United Nuwaubian Nation. And the Economic Mission initiates, maintains trade agreements, and facilitates strategic cooperation with foreign companies, organizations, and government agencies. The Ministry of Economics was formed with a mandate to oversee all activities and matters related to accounts receivables and accounts payables, and specifically debt owed to the United Nuwaubian Nation. Okay, as you know, we have a grievance, right? Okay? And when instructed, we are ready, willing, and prepared to enforce through established peaceful international canons our economic sanctions pursuant to the draft articles on the responsibility of states for internationally wrongful acts, the law of international responsibility. And during the time of displacement, you know, our mission has also been to work with opportunities to affect the macroeconomics of our nation, mainly new construction. We also focus on employment and strategies to stimulate B2B and B2C, which is business to business and business to consumer strategies that will positively affect our nationals' income. Our department has successfully created close to $500,000 United States dollars to flow through our nationals. We will continue to invigorate the full faith and credit of our institution through our love and unity, our connection, our bond, right? Through promises to keep contracts, promissory notes, and trade between us flowing, okay? As retained sovereigns of the United Nuwaubian Nation and working together, we continue to grow our signatory value, okay? That is where our value is. This is as far as on paper in the international community. This is, you know, our currency is us, you know. Okay, this is what they have. This is why, you know, they want us to cease to exist, because of the power that we have as Nuwaubians and the power that's been bestowed to us by our president, who has opened the door for our liberation. And we are here to ensure that we continue to conduct ourselves in commerce in a way that is productive for our nationals. Thank you.
Minister, Counselor.
Rahbat Yasar, Amanubi Amosis, Akron, York, aka Prince York. As Minister Counselor, my position entails dealing with the intricate details of one's naturalization, of identifying yourself as who you are as by natural nature, as a Yamasee, Muscogee, Nuwaubian, native of America and worldwide, because we are a displaced people. So this this includes dealing with both identification, such as passports, IDs, birth certificates, marriage certificates, death certificates, and all forms of identification and identifying one's being during the complete life and death span. Throughout this period, we have executed numerous of campaigns to ensure the protection, authenticity of our nation's identification. And we also, as Minister Counselor, it is my duty to ensure that we protect the integrity of the United Nuwaubian Nation. For purposes of authenticity, I'm going to show the official Nuwaubian identification card. These will be available to all United Nuwaubian Nation nationals within the next upcoming months. We're gonna ensure that all Nuwaubian Nation nationals, citizens, we're gonna ensure that we all are moving on the same frequency in which we're going towards this voting process. Me personally, I will be leading the campaign on an international, both national and international scale, for the freedom of our new president, as well as putting him back in his necessary seat once again in this upcoming re-election. I encourage every Nuwaubian worldwide to make sure that you utilize your right to vote. This is the most powerful right that one has, because with the voting process, you control the future of yourself and you control the future of our future, which is our children. Thank you.
Thank you, Minister Counselor. We want to introduce, well, he's been introduced, the brother Kurhat, head of diplomatic security and the various jobs he has in regards to the Nuwaubian Nation and how his position affects and protects the interests of us as a whole.
Rahbat Yasar, Ranani Kurhat Atun Sikim, head of diplomatic security and the protection of the United Nuwaubian Nation. embassy and diplomatic mission. I was appointed head of diplomatic security March 19, 2016. The mandate of my office consists of protecting the premises of the mission against any intrusion or damage, and to prevent any disturbance of peace, and protect the dignity or any impairment of the dignity of the United Nuwaubian Nation and the embassy and its diplomatic mission. I'm a commanding officer who delegates special duties to security agents and assisting the protection of the mission, their furnishings, which would be, all the documents, birth certificates, affirmation, things that you can, no one else has, that we hold here, sacred keys to our freedom, keys to our exodus out of here. We organize details for security agents, assisted in the release of our President and Head of State, His Excellency Dr. Malachi Zodak Kabina York, who has been kidnapped and held captive in Florence, AD Max, Florence, Colorado, which is a breach of international security, which is a breach of international law and internationally wrongful acts against an internationally protected person, and acting in my official capacity, securing diplomatic agents of the United Nuwaubian Nation while they are invoking the rights of diplomatic action and protection. I'm keep it brief. That just summarizes some of the duties as a diplomatic agent and head of diplomatic security. Tawad.
As you can see, there's much more detail to our job mandate. Of course, some things cannot be disclosed and will not be disclosed simply for security issues and measures. And because of these grave breachings, as the diplomatic security brother, the agent correct just explained, a lot of the documents that most people will probably see, and a lot of the actual facts, you'll see them in a few of the master secrets, such as this is out our president's Ghanaian birth certificate. You may see this because it's out already and it's been placed out. This is the original. You see the original here. It has a seal of the Ghanaian government there. This is the original document issued by the Republic of Registry of Birth, certified copy of the Republic of Liberia, issued in June of 2008, originally issued in 1945, and has his information, the government hospital in Takoradi, who he was born to, and other documents that are protected in the archives, a confirmation of his birth certificate, which is a confirmation from the government of Ghana that indeed he is a Ghanaian national. This confirms here another authentic, original confirmation, verification of birth certificate. Has this Republic of Ghana seal on there, and it actually was sent to Reverend Dr. Malachi York in Florence, ADX Max, written by the Republic of Ghana on March 13, 2009, reference number A1122F2, Volume 2, and Document 108. It's from the Birth and Death Register and Central Registry Office. So these documents are protected as an archive that is inviolable, and it should not be touched and has to be protected because of the importance of the documents and the rarity of the documents. We also have his Liberian citizenship. His Liberian citizenship is protected in the Embassy of the United Nuwaubian Nation. His oath and intent of petition for citizenship, also his appointment as Counselor General of the Republic of Liberia, not in conflict with his appointment or election as Chief or Head of State of the Yamasee Muscogee Nuwaubian Nation. We have many different archive documents that our nation needs, and our president has sent and mandated us to protect with our life. So this is why our job remains as important, and actually it's a dangerous job because of the attacks from many ignorant people worldwide who really don't have an understanding and don't really know who and what and how embassies work. And so, you know, we're not taking offense to the ignorance, to the slander, because you know when a child insults you, it's not taken personal, because the child really doesn't know much. And so that's our position. And when it comes to people who run their mouth about his lineage, his bloodline, his family, you know, the documents speak for itself, and that's why the confidence is established here. And also our president has entrusted in us these documents that are pertinent to his life. And we also house another thing that we probably want to overstand also, is that the executive seal of our president exists within our nation. You see this seal here is the only seal that can be used that is used by our president as his own executive stamp, and it's protected within the embassy and gives its authenticity and its authoritative nature to documents that seal is furnished on. And so we just want to give our nation a brief overstanding through this national address of what it is that we're doing, where we're going, what you can do to help assist in the freedom of your president, which is to vote. You know, if you sign a petition, if you've involved yourself in other avenues of his freedom, the vote is something that actually removed a president from incarceration. Actually, two presidents. Thank you, Minister Counsel. Two presidents, through a voting process, was released. Don't believe us? Check it out. That's a statement from our president. If you look up Kwame Nkrumah, who was the first president of Ghana, he was incarcerated by the British government because of his political intelligence and the creation of a political party that spearheaded the autonomy of Ghana and removed them from the British constitutional process, where Ghanaians stood up and said, we want our own constitutional process, we want our own self-government, we want our own institutions and control of our economic flow of the nation and the resources in which we're indigenously come from. And so they voted in Kwame Nkrumah while he was incarcerated. And so we're not just saying vote as just an avenue just because. When we work in a fashion that international law is, and it's effective, and this is an effective measure to release our president. Such examples as presidents who were freed because of a vote. Kwame Nkrumah, again, was to re-emphasize and reiterate the people of Ghana voted for him while he was in prison. And they wanted him and elected him as the head of their nation, as the head of their state, because they refused to be colonized and ruled by foreign settlers. And so our position is equal and is equivocally protected on the international scale, in the international arena, because we're saying that we refuse to be subjugated to foreign colonial Georgians who came here and propped themselves up on our national territory, and the blood of these foreigners to remove us still existed in the veins of individuals, officials in 2002 when they arrested and kidnapped our president. Another president that was freed through a vote was also Nelson Mandela. He was incarcerated for 25 years, and the people stood up and exercised their will and said, no, we want him as our president. And thus, he was freed. And so the process of a vote is not something that the Embassy of the United Nuwaubian Nation is just pulling for straws. We're saying this is the solution for us, our unification, and the future of our independence, and to maintain our sovereign status in the international community. And we need the people who have the will to stand up, and you want to do something for your president and acknowledge him as your chief. This is the time to do so. And so, again, the contact information will be on the website, votedrmalachiyork.com. You'll be able to email your questions. And until further notice, we'll conclude with this state address. Again, we appreciate your time and attention, and spread the word. And again, free our president and chief, head of state of Nuwapia, Dr. Malachi Z.K. York. Wadu.